these two wires are soldered together, and they just lay in that, you know, I leave that top open and leave, so that way they just lay in there like that, and I solder it that way. I don't have to unsolder the wires and then stick them through the hole and resolder. This is the way it was originally. The original lug on the original capacitor before I took it apart was like this, so I'm just recreating that, just because it'll be easier. Anyway, the other thing was, I wanted to show you just for fun. I was in an elevator the other day, and they had these 3M gizmos hanging on the wall for hanging up pictures or notices or something. And I got to looking at the hanger-upper here, and I realized it's probably just about the right size to fit in here to hold my tone arm down, you know. And it does seem to be, you know, it should be all right. So what I'm going to do is they have smaller ones that are narrower, but this thing's a lot smaller, you know. And it's gonna work okay, I can tell, but it's not gonna be quite as stout as the original one. But anyway, I'm gonna take a Dremel and I'm just gonna cut a piece of this out, and I'm gonna glue it in here, probably JB welded in here, so that I'll be able to lock that tone arm down when the player's not being used. You know, just enough to keep it from flopping around in there and causing problems with the needle and everything, you know. So I think that's probably going to work pretty well. I didn't want to have to try and use part of the original cartridge. I took that little nubbin out of there that was holding that down. I didn't want to have to try and use that because this is pretty heavy. And I think if I just get a small piece of this cut out, it'll be lighter than if I use this big thick, you know, section of the cartridge to get that locked down. So we'll keep you updated on that too. But that's our progress up to this point. So stay tuned. Thanks. All right, well, there you have it. I have all three capacitors. Here's what I decided to do. I was testing this, and it hummed more than I'd like. So what I decided to do, in order to save space, I decided to go with the 100 microfarad electrolytic instead of the 80. And instead of the 22, I decided to put a 33 in there, and this little one is also a 33. I'm just going to up the electrolytic capacitor values a bit to try and cut down on some of the hum. A lot of times on radios and things like this cheap tube amplifier in this Montgomery Ward record player, the manufacturers would use the lowest value they could possibly get away with. So it doesn't hurt to go up in value a little bit on these things. It might filter out more of the hum. You know, we'll give it a try. It won't hurt anything. The voltages are correct. They're all 160, 160, and this is still a 25 volt. Just instead of an 80, a 20, and a 20, I've got a 100, a 33, and a 33. So they're all in there. I've got heat shrink here and there. You know, you can't see it everywhere, but I've got heat shrink here and there to keep things from making contact and shorting out, and it should all be good to go. It all fits in there pretty well. I'll have to get our can lined up right so that we can get it taped back together, but yeah, there we go, like that. Anyway, it all, okay, it'll go in there like that. And I'll get it taped back together with that aluminum tape. And then we'll get it back in the chassis, put the cardboard cover over it. It'll look great. On the other side of things, I have one of the negative leads sticking up through here. I'm grabbing onto it with my hemostat there. It's right there, right next to this post. And the other two negatives are connected to it. So they're all going to this post, the one I talked about earlier. And once I get the can in place and twist these lugs, then I will connect that negative lead along with that wire I showed you in the earlier segment. And but I'm not going to hook it up yet, but I will. And then it should all be fine. Everything will be grounded out the way it's supposed to. That floating ground that these things use. So it all should be fine. Hopefully everything will come out great. We're going to get this all put back together and in place, and then we will give it a try. I don't have the cartridge and stuff in there yet. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to mount that little cartridge in that big tone arm. But we can test the amp just the same, so we'll do that. Stand by. Okay, just want to show you this real quick. I got it taped up, so that's ready to go. You can see how nice that aluminum tape is. That stuff is super sticky, and it's very durable. I mean, it's you know, it's actual aluminum tape, and so it makes a great great method of holding these things back together permanently. And then, like I said, we'll just put our cardboard tube on it, and there you go. It's ready to go back in. Everything's ready, so we'll put it back in place and get everything connected up. We'll see how the amp does. Stand by. Okay. There it is. Got it in there. I had a little bit of trouble, you know, because like I said, those lugs, those new lugs that I put in that came off of these things are short, so it was kind of hard getting those positive wires in there. But I think I did okay. I think I got everything connected up. I think I got my negative going the way it's supposed to and everything. So it's all connected up and looking good. So now I'm going to, I don't have the tone arm ready to go. I don't have a cartridge in it yet, which is just about the only thing standing in our way. But I'm going to go ahead and hook a different record player up to it just to see how it sounds. So hang on. Okay, so let me grab a couple of test leads. And here's how we do this. I have my RCA 45 player sitting there. And it has, I have it plugged in and ready to go. It has just a regular RCA jack. Okay, so you take a test lead and you alligator clip it to the center. Okay, and then you hook that up to your positive tone arm wire on the Suitcase player. Then you take your other lead. We're using red and white because that's traditional for this sort of thing. And you hook it up to the shielded part that goes around. Okay. You kept saying, okay. And then you hook that up to your negative tone arm wire. And it would probably help if we plug this record player in. Let's see if we don't have that going. Alright. So we're going to turn this on. Not sure why the motor was doing that. Anyway, motor's going to spin. Not making too much noise. And we're just going to see what happens. Let's just turn it all the way up and see how it sounds. Take a little bit for those tubes to warm up, of course. Hopefully everything's good. If it's not, we're going to find out pretty soon. Okay. Hums a bit, but it's not horrible. Let's turn this thing on and see what we get. Tone control works. That's as loud as I can get it, and I'll tell you why. Hums a bit, but you know, it's going to. But it's working fine. It's not bad. Let me turn that down for a second. So this RCA player back here, it has one of those Chuo Denshi cartridges in it, and those are only points, I think I don't even know if they're half a volt. They're like 0.35 or something. They're really puny. Might be, I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's less than half a volt, whatever it is. Okay. The cartridge that I'm going to put in here is at least 1.2, could anywhere between 1.2 and 1.8. Bought it from Voice of Music, and he has that disclaimer on there that it you know, the voltage on the 89T is anywhere from 1.2 to 1.8. So it's going to be more than double what this is. So we'll get a real test when I get that in there. But for now, the amplifier works. Doesn't sound too bad. So I haven't done that output boost, you know, where I'm going to take this other electrolytic capacitor and put it across the that resistor on the output tube, you know. But anyway, I'll check that. I'll try that after I put the real cartridge in there and we really get this thing going for real. Just wanted to check, you know, see how I did. Apparently everything's fine. My electrolytics are in there. It's not humming very much. They're all gonna hum, but it's not humming very much. So I think it's fine. you go. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be better once we have everything connected properly instead of doing it this goofy way. You know, it is humming a fair amount, but I don't think it's that bad. Anyway, that's how you do that if you ever, you know, want to test your amp when you're not ready. You know, whether, you know, if you've done the amp first and haven't done the motor yet, or like me, haven't gotten to the cartridge yet, you can test the amp. And so I think we're making progress. We're just about done here. If I can get this cartridge situation worked out and make sure that my tone arm I have the tracking force where I want it, and fix that lockdown, then I think we got it. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. Just a quick follow-up. This is the exact same setup that you just saw, except I've added this little solid-state preamp. I'm using a 9-volt battery to power it. It's supposed to have at least 10 volts, but you know, that's close enough for this. I have this little power supply that converts 120 to, I think, 12 volts, but I think this is what was causing all the hum. So I'm going to eliminate that and just go with a battery, because it works really well. I mean, we're going to have to, you know, we're going to have to work on a few things to try and cut that hum down a little bit. But for the most part, I think this funny little solid-state amp that I bought, you know, and haven't really found a use for, you know, is going to work fine. I think we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And one of the things that I'm going to do is, there's this hole at the back of this, you know, for ventilation or whatever inside the case. It's just open. There's no screen there or anything. It's just wide open. So I can put a battery right in here. You know, a piece of Velcro or something, just hold the battery in place, and it'll be really easy to change whenever the output starts to drop and I need to put a new battery in it. But I think we're going to do that. Even, you know, like I said, this puny little Chuo Denshi cartridge in here, you can see that thing, you know, that sounds better. So, you know, once we get the actual hotter cartridge in this thing, you know, we'll try it with this and see how it does. If it hums too much, it hums too much. But right now, it sounds like that, you know, we might get this output up close to where it was originally when this thing was new and had a 4-volt cartridge in there. Anyway, I just wanted to tack this onto the end because I just got, you know, I got to thinking that this thing was probably what was causing all the hum, and I should try it with a battery. And sure enough, that seems to have helped a lot. So anyway, we're going to end this segment on a high note, and stay tuned, and thanks for watching.